Good morning everyone, it's Caroline from Caroline's Corner. I'm in Leeds in the UK. I'd like to welcome you to my latest Flosstube. Can't quite remember which number I was up to before Mania. I had intended to come back a little earlier in the month, but it's just been a bit one of those months. I think everybody's found that, what with, to quote Simon Mayo and Mark Kermode from one of my favourite podcasts, one thing and another. So I hope everybody's staying safe and well. The political scene is not going great worldwide. I'm not really going to comment on it other than to say I am very well aware that institutionalised racism is not just a US problem, it's very much a problem in the UK as well. I used to work in international development, and my view has always been that we need to get out the way as white people. The world, however well-meaning, the view of the organisation I used to work for was that it was very much grassroots up. We were there to facilitate what the groups we were working with wanted to do because we were better placed to access the money. So I won't go on about it other than to say I'm aware, I do what I can to support, but I probably don't post much about it on social media because I don't want to get in the way. And I'll leave it at that. I'm going to do things slightly differently. Oh, this is a podcast about cross-stitching, knitting, needlework. I'm going to start with knitting today because I was thinking I'll do a WIP Parade after to show you what I have on the go since Mania. So I thought I'd start with the knitting because this is going to be a long one, and then do the stitching last for a change so I can go through, because there's quite a bit to show you because I've not podcasted properly for a while. So I have a knitting finish. This is my swale hap. I shall kneel up and then you can perhaps see it a little better. Here we go. Designed by Carrie Westerman. It's a swale hap. It's knit in Whitfeld DK, which is 100% baby alpaca from Eden Cottage Yarns, in the colours fuchsia and charcoal. And the pattern was released in the Drift collection by Eden Cottage Yarns about almost 5 years ago now. I got the yarn at the time. You can't get Whitfeld DK anymore, unfortunately. It proved to be the perfect lockdown knit. All some nice basic garter stitch and wonderfully soft yarn, so it was nice and comforting to work on. Just enough patterning to keep my brain engaged, but not so much that it decided to take, because it's, you know, like a lot of people, I've had up days and down days, and on down days this was the perfect knit for that. So I'm very, very pleased to have this done finally, out of the stash and into my shawl collection, because I think it is heading to a collection now. Right, and on to what I've been working on since then. I shall start with my daughter's cardigan because that is almost finished. I am knitting her the Sinister Cattigan by Marla Gilligan of Anne Kattenberg. I have this week done the button bands. So when you last saw it, where's my pattern keeper? My progress keeper, I had just started that sleeve. So I finished the sleeve, I steeked, Moderately successfully. I didn't quite get it right at some point. I lost the stitch markers that were denoting the steek, and I didn't, when I put them back on, I didn't quite get them in the right place. So the top and bottom were slightly out of kilter. So one side has a thicker steek than the other. So this side is going to need a little bit more reinforcement work just to keep it all together. So I'll probably sew something down the other side. So she's very pleased with it. It fits just. She's like me, she's got quite broad shoulders, and I need to work on my colour work because it's just a little bit tight, but she says that's probably because of the colour work. So I just have buttons to go, and she wants pockets, so I knit the first pocket. Obviously it's a little difficult to go and get buttons at the moment. My favourite button shop has reopened to the public, but it's not really in a location that's close to us. I try and get my buttons from Duttons for Buttons. They have shops in York and Harrogate. And it's not really convenient to go. I don't care for going anywhere particularly crowded at the moment. I know, I'm sure they're not. But what they are offering is an online button matching service. So I've sent off my swatches because I figured that would be the best way for them to match and tell them what I need, and hopefully she'll have some buttons, and next time I record this might be finished. Well, it should be finished. I knit it in Kinross 4-ply from We Country Yarns, and using the grey is granite, the white colour is quartz, and the pink is orchid because my daughter decided she wanted it in the similar colours to the model. So yes, so looking forward to a finish on that one, and then I'll have to work out what I'm going to do next. I was toying with knitting a captigan for myself, but I might give it a break and knit something on a slightly larger needles before I go back to more colour work. And obviously, because I finished a shawl, I cast another one on. Helen Stewart of Curious Handmade has just launched her latest mystery knit-along, the Stillness shawl, which I have bought. I'm not going to be doing it as a mystery knit-along because I never quite got around to doing the last one. So the Impressionists mystery knit-along. I'm sorry about my colour. My printer the printer cartridges were on their way out when I was printing this. But Nicole of Nicole's Needlework, she's just finished her Impressionist shawl. And this is where I'm up to. I have just finished Clue 1 and then started, and I'm about 4 dozen rows or so into Clue 2. So my colours are a little more blendy than I thought they might turn. There's not a lot of contrast. I'm showing you the back there. There we go, it's the front. There's not as much contrast as perhaps I thought, but I'm loving how they're all sort of blending into one another when I'm now knitting with them, rather than when they were on the skein there was a bit more contrast. So yeah, so I'm loving how this is looking. I'm knitting mine in River-Knits 4-ply British BFL, and the colourways I'm using Impressionist, because I couldn't not knit a Impressionist shawl in Impressionist colour wool. This is my A colour. Mermaid, that's the B colour, and Cairn, which is the C. So yeah, so I should when I pick this up next week, I'll get onto the lace section, which is next once I finish these eyelets. So that's a couple of weeks work. I'm quite happy with how that's growing. And then I think I've got some yarn in my stash that I can probably do the stillness shawl with. Or certainly I don't need to buy a lot. I might need to buy one skein to pull 2 other skeins together. We shall see. There's been no real progress on my sock. I've cast on this. If you my last proper video, you saw that I had finished the first sock. I've cast on the second sock. I've done a handful of rows on the ribbing, but I haven't got very far with it. Once I finish the cardigan, I think I'll probably spend a week or so just knitting on the sock, just to get it a bit further down. I have, however, bought some wool. I succumbed to a update from the Knitting Goddess. I've been after some of this wool for a while. It's her colourway Superhero Jeans, which she did to raise money for charity for my friend Claire, who her brother has a rare genetic condition, and it was that's the colourway. So I've long wanted that. I just never had the disposable income when she had it on, so I got that. And so it didn't travel on its own, I bought another skein of sock yarn. This is called Unicorn Delight, which again, very much my colours, as you might all realise, with the blues and the purples. And knitting the Countess Ablaze, decided to do a charity colourway to raise money for Citizens Advice Bureau after a particularly stunning clusterfuck on the part of our government. This is called the Ministry of Truth Twisting. I signed up because I was so annoyed with what was going on, and the colours are very much me, even though I didn't know the colours when I signed up for the yarn. I couldn't not. I've long admired the Countess's, some of the other Countess's other charity colourways, and again, never been in a position to actually have the disposable income to buy any when she's previously had them. However, I have at the moment because I'm not travelling into work and I'm not spending my money on lunches and coffees and other things and activities for the kids. So I'm trying to spread it around some of our local shops in knitting and stitching, as you will see. Anyway, I'm going to pause the video here and move on to some quilting briefly, and then I will come back, so just bear with me. Right, I'm sorted. I've had a successful time quilting while I've been on lockdown because I got my son's quilt finished. I think I'd finished the quilting and was onto the binding, was all I had left to do, and I have successfully managed to get that done fairly early on. And he is very pleased with it. Let me stand up a little bit and see. I won't be able to get the whole of it in and give you an idea of the colours. This is some very simple quilting on this one, just lines across it has a bright green back, and so it's all shades of blue and green that he chose himself on a trip to Simply Solids, who have unfortunately since closed since I bought the fabric for this, which was 3 or 4 years ago. So yes, so I'm very pleased to get that one off the pile. He is very pleased to have it finished. It lives in his bedroom. He just sort of wrapped himself in it for the first few days after it was drug finished it and didn't come out. So now I have started quilting a quilt for myself. One of my previous videos I mentioned I was getting a quilt block of the month mystery quilt by Sheila Christensen. She was at Mystery Quilter on Instagram. The pattern is called The Name of the Rose, and I'm getting it through Lisa, who was one of the owners of Simply Solids, and she's now running something called the Modern Quilt Club, which does block of the months and when she can do them again, retreats. So not had a huge amount of time on this. But I have made a start on clue 1. I'm at the stage now where I've got all the individual bits together, so that's one of them. And I've got various blocks like these. That all need sewing together next time I get a stint at my sewing machine. So I'm very glad, and this one's going to be me. You can probably tell by the colours, the purples and the splashes of bright pink, they just screamed my name. So yes, so I'm almost finished with block 1. Hopefully by the next time I record that will be done, and I'll be able to show you those. Right, on to cross stitching. It's been very nice to get back to my WIPs after Mania, my regular rotation. I think Mania suited my mood because I wasn't really minded to sit down and just work on 1 or 2 pieces. So my brain was all over the place, so actually switching projects out every day suited me. But it's been quite nice to get back to my regular rotation. I did have a start on the 1st of June, but I'll show you that when I go through my WIPs, because it's right down the bottom of the pile and I've not got it out yet. So we will start with Emblem of Love. Made some really good progress on this since the last time you saw it. I am past the halfway point now and very happy with how it's turning out. So can't quite remember where I was, but on this I think I've finished these top ones and all the motifs in the middle, done the words, and say well past the halfway point, if not almost 2/3 done. This last week I've been working on this big motif. I had hoped to be a bit further along, but it's been really hot here. I mean, the weather's broken now, but we had some really hot weather and I just didn't feel like stitching for a couple of nights. So I didn't quite get it finished. So there's just the swan and a bit of greenery to go in, so next time. And then I think I'll just carry on and fill in the top when that comes back up in a couple of weeks. So having just finished. Stitching this on vintage Luna from Lakeside Linens. This is a colourway I had in my stash from when I was in a Linen of the Month club with Silk Weaver in the early 2000s, so it's not one I don't think anyone ever shows, so I'm fairly sure it's probably not in production anymore. And I'm using a silk conversion from Vicky Clayton threads, which I was gifted with a few years ago. I didn't get my threads out, so I can't show you them, but they are beautifully soft colours, which I am very much enjoying stitching with. So that is Emblem of Love, and I'm stitching this for my silver wedding, which is in August, and hopefully I might even get it finished by then. We shall have to see. Excuse me. So next week I'm back to Dorothy Walpole. Dorothy came up a couple of times in Mania, which meant I got some good progress on her. Here we go. Show you. This is the whole sampler. She's getting a bit big to get in really now. So if I move her slightly closer. There you go. Just roll her up to where I was working. So during Mania, I got this big flower finished, and made a start on these ones. Excuse me. And then so when she came up in my rotation, I got this sprig finished, a load of this stems in, and got this big flower, the last of the big flowers outlined. So when I pick her up again tonight, I shall be filling in this flower. And now actually at the stage where I think it is actually doable that I will get her finished this year. I've been thinking I'll get her finished for the last 5 years, because I started her back in 2015. So hopefully, with a little bit of luck on my side, she should get done. I'm stitching Dorothy on 40 count vintage pearl. No, it's not vintage, just straight pearl barley on an Italian linen base by Lakeside Linens, which again I'd had in my stash for a long time. It predates my children, so again I don't think they do it anymore. And I'm using the Call 4 DMCs for that. So very, very pleased with how Dorothy's doing. Really looking forward to getting her done, as you might imagine. So my next piece is one you haven't really seen. I think last time I did a proper episode, I said I was working, I just started working on this one. This is my oldest class piece from a class I took back in 2006. It's by C.A. Wells. She's unfortunately no longer teaching, and it's called Three-Sided Reticule, and it was a piece she designed for the 10th anniversary of her teaching at Hanging by a Thread through Hanging by a Thread in London. Susan used to organise lots of classes a couple of times a year and have teachers come over from America. So to celebrate her 10th anniversary, we all went for afternoon tea at Harrods in the Laudray tea room, and so it was all influenced by their packaging. So there's 3 panels for the actual reticule, and then there are some little triangles for a little pincushion. Now, so I've got all the panels outlined, done my 4-sided stitch. I've done the top borders on both of them and done the inside panels. They're all stitched. And I made a start, and I've got about 2/3 or 3/4 of the way down the first of the big outside panels. So each one's got a wreath with this one's got my initials in, another one's got Hanging by a Thread, and the third one's got a 10, I think, in it. And I was on to the white work. So that shouldn't when I pick it up again, shouldn't take me long. I'm expecting that I can finish this panel and make a good start on the next one. So obviously I'm using the kit materials. CA was always a bit wary about telling you what they actually are, but the overdyes are water lilies, and I think the rest are soy crystal silks. Right, so that's what I've been working on for June. I say next up is Dorothy Walpole, so my plans for July, I will have a 1st of July start, which I'll talk about in a minute, and then I'm just going to continue with my rotation and hopefully see. It'd be really nice if I could get that big spray of flowers finished on Dorothy. And get to the 3/4 finish point on Emblem of Love, as well as maybe hopefully finishing off a second of those outside panels on the Reticule, if not both of them, and having made a start on the 3rd. So before I get into all my WIPs, I'm going to talk about stash. Right, so my start for July is going to be Hannah Coates. I had planned on starting her earlier in the year, but I hadn't managed to get all the materials together. So in the last month, I made a determined effort to source some fabric and the threads. I have opted to go for some 40 count Newcastle in, depending where in the world you are, it's either called light mocha or mushroom. I got a fat half of that, so to have it get a big enough piece, because Hannah's quite a big girl. She is 345 stitches by 319, so even on 40 count you need quite a big cut of fabric, so hence going for a fat half rather than to make sure, and then I'll have a bit left over. I've opted to stitch her in DMC, so I got the DMC pack from Fobbles. I got the fabric from Peakside Needleworks. So nice bright colours. I'm quite looking forward to getting stuck in on that one. Other stash that came in, obviously I had to get the Sewing Club book. It is the law, it is laid down by Brenda and the Serial Starter. Yeah, had to be done, just had to be done. So this came from Patchwork Rabbit when they got their second batch through, so nothing more I need to say about the Sewing Club book because you've heard about it from everybody else, although I'm looking forward to stitching some of them pieces. Then from Hands Across the Sea, I picked up Jane Fiddis, then one of the new releases. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Mary 365. I do like Bristol samplers. I just have absolutely no desire to stitch a Bristol sampler, so I shall just leave it as admiring everybody else's efforts. But I do like Jane, so. So other stash that came in. So when I ordered the fabric from Peakside Needleworks, I also got Seeking Refuge by the Scarlet House, which went on my wish list as soon as Tanya released it. I got the thread pack from Fobbles, and when I placed that order I also got the Mary Bars sampler, because with having watched Carol Saltbox stitch hers, and other people, you know, we've all got to do what Carol and Nicole and Brenda and Laura do. And then I have had another order from Peakside Needleworks, which turned up much faster than I was expecting it. I placed the order on Friday afternoon about 4 o'clock. By 4:30 I had a notification that it had shipped, and it arrived Saturday morning, which even by the usual speedy service from Peakside Needleworks was faster than I was really expecting, so it was a very pleasant surprise. So I bought some Lady Dot chenille to finish Pomegranate Santa, which you'll see when I do my WIP Parade. Cranbird sampler, because having followed Michelle at Cozy Eggs, progress through hers, I decided I really needed that one. Manor at Quaker Hill, because who doesn't need that one? And it's gorgeous. And another Scarlet House that's been on my wish list for ages, Margaret Lily. Yeah, so that's my stash for now. I'm probably going to be going back into the office soon, so probably won't be getting quite so much. And we're getting into the school holidays and I'll be taking the kids out, so my disposable income will shrink again. But hey, while I've got it. Right, I'm going to pause this again and get my whips ready to show you. Okay, so I'll be back again in a minute. Right, I'm back. I keep my whips in this big basket. As you can see, it's an old picnic basket. It's kind of overflowing. So, start with the oldest one. I mean, I have had this out a few times during Stitch Mania. This is a tapestry kit called Stained Glass Sunflower by Landmark Tapestries. There you go. Started this book, I think, in about 2001 or 2000, I'm not entirely sure. So as soon as I finish Dorothy Walpole, I will try and get back, because I'm well past the halfway point on this one. I think I just struggled with the colour definition, but now I've got a craft lamp, it's slightly easier. So I'm currently working my way around and hoping I've got enough thread to finish, because some of the yellows I'm getting a bit low on. But see what we can do. So yes, so once I finish Dorothy Walpole, that will go in the large projects slot in my stash, in my rotation rather. I've got 3 slots in my rotation, as you might have gathered. I stitch on a large piece, I stitch on a class piece, and I stitch on take my shawl off now, stitch on a small to medium piece, and so we go. Right. The next one on the pile is Pomegranate Santa by Plum Street Samplers. So this is the one I got the trim, the chenille trim to finish, because it's the same colour. I don't actually have too much left to do on this one, because I got Santa all done. I've just finished the tree, and then there's a few snowflakes. So as soon as I finish Emblem of Love, that one is going back into the rotation. This is being stitched on some 36 count vintage light exemplar from Lakeside Linens, and I am using the called for. No one ever gets the threads as neat as Nicole, ever. Called for Classic Colourworks Crescent Colours. So that should be a quick finish once it gets the rotation slot again. So if it wasn't my silver wedding this year, some stuff might have got finished quite a bit sooner. So the next one is We Spring Bird. I've got all the season birds from Heart in Hand. I think I stitched Winter and it's in the finishing pile. So one of my monthly starts was Spring, and I made quite a good start. So it's on some 32 count summer khaki. Using all the call for colours of Weeks and Gentle Art. The next piece was one you'll have seen a lot over Mania, which is my Christmas tree globe from Krynic. Came in this little kit with all the threads and the silks, and came up a couple of times in my Mania. So put my hand behind that, focus better. So yeah, so I've got the tree done and I'm working on the snow globe. So again, so there you go. Again, that will be quite a quick stitch once I get back to it. It was nice to see some real progress on it over Mania. This next one was a Mania start last year. It didn't come up this year. This is Skylar Wayne by the Indigo Rose. I was in an secret stitcher exchange quite some years ago. My secret stitcher at the time got Catherine to sign the chart for me and sent me a complete kit to stitch it. So I think it's this way up. That's how much I got done Mania last year, because I think I did a couple of sessions on it. It's looking beautiful. So I'm assuming it's certainly the call for threads. I'm not sure which are Karen. So there's 3 water lilies and some soy crystal. Just look and see what their call for linen was. So the call for linen was 34 count Legacy Cafe au Lait. So I can only assume that's what my secret stitcher of the time, I think she was called Carol, sent me. So yeah, that will go into my large project slot when I finish the sunflower tapestry. The next project I have on the go is this kit from Hillside Samplings, Folk Art Needle Box. So I've got the box, and I've got a few of these folk art pieces that she did for market. I have about 4 of them. The only one I've actually stitched is the horn book. I've got the needle roll and I've got the tray and mat to do, as well as the box. again was a Mania start last year. I didn't get very far with it. I just got a couple of the outlines done and it didn't come up this year, so we'll have to wait its slot in the in my small to medium projects. It using the Call For thread. It came as a kit with all the Call For threads. The next one, which again was from Mania last year, is Shepherd's Bush Stitches Needle Roll. Again, didn't get a huge amount done last year. A couple of bands, and again didn't get selected on the random number generator that I used to go through my WIPs this year, but it's mostly DMC, typical Shepherd's Bush colours, you see, and again that'll go in the small to medium project slot. My next one is by B.A.D. Designs, and it's called Elegant Pocket, which she designed for Elegant Stitch in California. And I bought the kit from Lois Time. So this is how far I got on that one. I was actually on holiday last May, and so I just worked on that, so hence why that got a little bit more progress than some of my other Mania starts last year, but very me colours. I have there's a scissor fob and needlework to go with it, which I have as well. So yes, the purple and green is very me. It's being stitched in needlepoint silk and on 32 count elegant bean linen. Still on Elegant Stitch, my next piece is one of the breast cancer fundraisers that Lois would do every year. This is the From the Heart. This is the kit to do the basket, which I have, and with a band and a fob and a little pillow. I got as far as stitching one of the hearts for the basket fob last year. I've done most of the rest of the From the Heart, so they're in there. That's the pocket and the needle book. I stitched that one in 2006, did the needle book in 2007. I think I did the needle roll a bit earlier than that. That's upstairs. And very pretty colours, two Weeks Dye Works, Thistle and Heather, along with some DMC. So it'd be nice to get. And again, that one didn't get selected to come up in Mania this year. It's so I use a random number generator just to work on some WIPs. But never mind, I'll get there soon enough. Now this is one that did come up in Mania a couple of times, so I made a little bit of progress on this one. This is the Milk Paint Sampler Thread Fold from Mary Gary's Sewing Cabin and Chronics Remember the Ladies series that they did. I'm stitching this on a random piece of linen from my stash. I think it was old Silk Weaver, but I've lost the tag that told me what the colour was, so I don't know, I'm afraid. Using the silks that came, the milk paint silks that came in the kit. So when it came up in Mania, I got everything done on this side. So it's nice to see a bit of progress on that one. And here are the threads. Again, lovely muted colour scheme. My next WIP is another one that came up in Mania, so you have seen this. This is Happy Halloween by the Drawn Thread. This is where I got to at the end of Mania. So a nice little bit of progress on that one. Not too far off finishing this side. I'm stitching it on 28 count French country linen in chocolate. Oh, country French linen, I apologise. Using the call for DMC, and there's a Needle Necessities as was, and Weeks Dye Works. Do love the colour on that. It's called Copper Pennies. And then we're into my starts from this year. So you've seen all of these. This is Just Nans and Many More, which was a shop exclusive for Silver Needle. Again, this one came up in Mania, so I got a little bit more done. So I've just started the first front panel on that one. This will be a needle book when it's done. It's all stitched in Splendor silks with thread gatherer over dye. A beautiful colour palette as always. My February start this year was Jane Marshall from Hands Across the Sea. Again, this one came up in Mania, so I've got a little bit more progress on her. Got the top couple of lines of the alphabet done. I am using a conversion to Gloriana silks, and I am stitching on Days Gone By 32 count even weave from Silk Weaver. Again, when I say it's a Silk Weaver fabric, it is one I bought probably 15 to 20 years ago, because that was when I was in their Fabric of the Month club. Before I think they changed owners, I'm not sure. So this is these are the Glorianas. I pulled the DMC and then matched my Glorianas to that, and then went digging through my silk stash to see what I could match up. So I have all these silks, and it seems a shame to just leave them sat in the drawer and not actually stitch with them. My next piece is another one from the Kreinik Remember the Ladies series. It is called Girls' Night Out, and it is by Kathy Barrick when she was designing for Carriage House Samplings. So I didn't get much done on that one, just a little bit of the outlining, because I only worked on it for one night. It's all tent stitch on, I think it's 40, is it 40 or 36 count I got given. 36 count Dawn's Early Light from R&R. So tent stitch, and again, these are the colours, the beautifully muted colours on the milk paints. So looking forward to getting back to that one in due course. What I plan to do with my rotation is just pick the earliest one and just work through them from there. And then we're on to the Mania starts from this year, which by and large I think you've all seen. There was Beekeeper from Plum Street Samplers. So I got a couple of nights stitching in on that one. Made a nice start. I got the kit when it was a kit through Nud and Crafts as a market exclusive, but she has since released the pattern. So it's got all the week's dye works and it's being stitched on Northern Cross linen. I'm gonna have to move, my leg's going to sleep. And there is Pinwheelie by Old Colonial Designs. Almost got this done in Mania because it came up a couple of times. Certainly I've just got the outside and then there's an alphabet in the middle. So it won't be, that one won't take long to finish when it gets, when I get there. Just get myself more comfortable. Right. Again, this next one is one that you saw a couple of times in my Mania videos because it came up a couple of times. It's a new start I had. Moon Garden by Blackbird Designs, which is one of the earliest. It was number 8 in the loose feathers, and I've had in my stash since then. Being stitched on a piece of 32 count Lakeside Linen Sierra Night that again I have had in my stash for probably over 15 years. Using the Cool for colours. I think the willow might be a bit yellower than it was 15 years ago when was that? What was the copyright on this one? 2004, so 16 years ago when Bob and Alma designed that one. But I think they're still popping on this fabric. So I'm using the Cool for colours. There we go. Looking forward to getting back to that one. Common theme there, I think. My next Mania start this year was Williamsburg accessory box that I wore, and accessories. It's another folk art box which I love by Liberty Hill. Again, I was gifted this by a dear friend, so I needed to get it out. And I love Mary Cox. Just the chances of me actually making another of her classes are probably vanishingly slim. So and that was my start. Little start I had on the Angel. And the last of my Mania starts was Teresa Wensler's The Guardian. This will go in the large slot when I get there. Although, say I only had one night stitching on it, I'm quite pleased with how much I got done. Did I show you that the right way up? I can't remember. Yes, because that's the wing down there. So, go. Using the kit materials for that one, that's, I think it's 28 count, even weave, and the DMC came with it. Right, and then we are on to my new start for this month. I said it was right down the bottom of the pile. I started a sampler grows by the Scarlet House because I thought I really need to start stitching some Tanya's wonderful patterns instead of them sat there in my stash. I didn't get terribly far, I just got a start in on the house. Is that the right side? Yes. Yeah, I got a start in on the house. This is being stitched on a bit of the 40 count linen, an off-cut from the piece I cut for Dorothy Walpole. And I'm using some of the call for MPIs that I had in my stash, and where I didn't have the call for colours, I tried to match. So there's a mix of Vera Soie and needlepoint ink, because I pulled the DMC and then converted back to what silks I did have. So I didn't get a lot of stitching in that night, but you know, started, and hopefully I'll be able to get back to it. Sorry. Right, so the next batch of WIPs are all ones where I took a class, so they'll get worked through steadily. Some of which you saw during Mania, because I did work on a handful of them, and some of them you haven't seen for a while. So the first one is a needle lace pinkeep. This was a class at the Ackworth Gathering in 2008 when Needleprint launched the Good Heart sampler book. I did do some work on this during Mania. I finished this second band off. I'm probably not going to do the whole pinkeep, but I decided that what I actually do want to do is just work my way through this as a doodle cloth, just to get some practice on the technique. I mean, as you can see, it's dreadful at the moment. See if I can get any better at it. It would probably help if I didn't keep breaking off halfway through and then spending several years between blocks. So that will get worked on at some point, relatively near future. The next WIP, I don't have a chart picture for this one, but is a whitework sampler designed by Everlotta Hansen of the Royal School of Needlework. Again, was a class at Ackworth. See, I didn't get that far, so I am just pulling the threads for some pulled thread work there. She just took a couple of motifs from some of the Good Heart samplers in the Good Heart book and replicated them. So those two date back to 2008. The next sum is one you did see during Mania because it came up 3 times. I think this was the piece I worked on the most. This is Anniversary Roses by Forget Me Nots in Stitches. I don't think I can get it all in, so you'll just have to scroll up through it. I took this class back in 2010, I think. I'd have to have a look. And I've been stuck on this Montenegrin band for about the last 3 years, but thanks to Mania I've actually managed to make some serious progress on this and get quite close to finishing it. And I don't actually have that much more to do on the bottom. I think there's one more verse and then there's a bit down the bottom, so it won't take too long. Because I think this was designed for Lauren, so that's what I've still got to do. I'm working on this band. I've got those 2 to do. Lauren designed this for her 10th anniversary of teaching for Susan at Hanging by a Thread, and yeah, so I managed to make very good progress on that one before it got put down because I was working on other things. you know, shiny, and I get pulled off. So the next project is another one that it got a couple of sessions in Mania. It's my Fruits of the Vine sampler hussif from With Thy Needle, Ellen Chester. I'm working on the outside of the hussif now, so I'm just working down the border on the first side. So I've got a couple more of the grapes. The grapes are all 10 stitch over 1 stitched. Oh, pardon me, got hay fever. I have stitched a few of the other pieces. I've got the needle, the outside of the needle roll we stitched in the class, or we started in the class because it demonstrated all the techniques that we used. I've done the inside panel for that. And this is the fob, which just leaves me with the pin cushion to stitch once I've stitched the outside. That's mostly stitched in dinky dyes, I think, with a bit of DMC, and yeah, I think it's mostly dinky dyes. And again, it's a lovely one to stitch on. The next class piece is, it's a bit faded, but it's called Glastonbury Garden, and it is a Stitcher's Companion by Lauren Sauer, Forget Me Nots in Stitches. And there's some slightly darker pictures you can see. So this is the outside of the case, and then there's the inside of the case with various pockets, and now I finished the case on the side. So when I work on this one, I've been working on the pockets. So I've got one of the big pockets done and the little pocket that goes on the top. And I am currently I was working on another one of the little pockets. So I think it's mostly stitched in sampler threads. Usually Lauren uses a mix of silks and cottons because she goes more for the colour than the which thread. So this is another Lauren Sauer piece. It's called Along the River James, Williamsburg bound. It's a small pocket book. If I find a picture of the completed pocket book, I don't think I can. Well, this is the outside, which you can see I got done quite a lot of that one. So I've done the outside, so again, 2013 took that class. And that's the inside of the pocket book. So I just have the pockets to stitch, which I've made a start on. And then there's those are the inside pockets, and then there's some outer flame stitch pockets that go outside. Yeah, again using quite a mix of silks. These are the silks for the flame stitch. There's some water lilies and yeah, so water lilies and sampler threads used in that one. My next one, see if I can find a picture of it, is a sampler, again by Lauren Sauer. It's called Mistress L's sampler. So somewhere I have a picture of thing. So this is the top, so right down there, and this is the bottom section. This class was the same weekend as along the James River, so most of my stitching efforts, and so I did a lot of pre-stitching across the James River. So this is my progress to date on Mistress L. So not got quite a bit to go yet. And again, it's a mix of silks and cottons. Lots and lots of Gentle Art Forest Glade. And again, took that class back in 2013. The next one is one by Jackie Duplessis. It's finally finished. Find the cover picture, and it is called September Morning. Somewhere in here I've got the full picture, which is a beautiful little box with accessories. So I got the little pin cushion stitched and finished. That was in the class. That was the, and then I've been working my way slowly through. I've got the side pieces done and the inside of those boxes. And I made a start on the first of the end panels of the box. All very beautiful and detailed, as you may well know from Jackie's pieces. And all stitched in various silks. Some are dinky dyes, some aren't. Put some stuff back in a bag because otherwise they're all going to get mixed up. We don't want that, do we? The next piece I can show you is another of Lauren's samplers. She took this class at Fobbles. Lauren wasn't able to join us, unfortunately. And it is the CMB 1759, and she's called Sleeping Beauty Awakened. Let me find the pictures for you. And there were several different ways of stitching this sampler. So this is it as all as one long band sampler, The original sampler was white work and all in knots, French knots. Was it French or Palestrina knots? I can't remember. I opted not to do that version, and I'm stitching it. I mean, the original sampler was 2 panels, so I'm stitching it in 2 panels rather than just the one long one. And that's how far I got. So yeah, it's a fun one to stitch on when it comes up. Again, this isn't one that came up during Mania. I think it came up in Mania last year. So sorry, my feet keep going to sleep because I'm sitting on my legs. Next one is one that did come up in Mania this year, One Moment in Time, which I was taking as an online class through the Shining Needle Society. It's a Jackie Duplessis piece. And it's very pretty. It's got these pretty flowers, but the soy superfine on the fine cotton is an absolute swine. I'm on my 6th of 8 side panels. This is one of the pocket panels, and they're much more fun to do because there's a little more actual stitching. And then there's all the smalls to go with them. So yeah, so that's another panel. So that's fun. So I'm looking forward to getting onto the smalls when I've got the bag put together. And then another one of Jackie's that came up in Mania, and I've made a small start on because the class was all about the assembly, is Contented Hours, the little basket and Husif. And that's as far as I got. Oh, the nice stitching on it so far. But again, very me colours, and I'm really looking forward to getting to stitch on that some more in due course. And then we are on to my very last class piece. The last class I had a chance to take was Iberthia with Nicola from Hands Across the Sea, and I haven't started on the sampler yet, which I'll be stitching in the Corfu silks. I've just been working my way through the doodle cloth and class to learn the techniques that Nicola did for us. So again, this is an offcut of the linen for Dorothy Walpole, Pillows Barley, and I'm doing this doodle cloth in just DMC that I pulled. Whether I do Bethia totally reversible or not remains to be seen. It might just depend how keen, enthusiastic I am feeling when I finally get to stitch her. At the moment, she's probably a fair way down the list because I've other samplers I need to get stitched first. Right, so I'm hoping you enjoyed that canter through my WIPs. This is going to be a much longer episode than I normally do. I will put show notes in the box below. I can be found around the internet as Caroline A. Kemp, Caroline spelled with a K, on Instagram and Twitter. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope everyone stays well and safe, and I will see you again in July. Take care, folks. Bye bye.